and call the Tuesday, November 25th meeting of the Wythe County Board of Supervisors to order. We do have a quorum present, missing Chairman Reeves, who's out traveling to California visiting some family. But we do have everybody else here today, so go ahead and get started. We'll begin. Pastor Greg Deal from Crossroads Church of Christ will come to bring the invocation. If everybody would stand, and this will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. Let's pray. Our Father and our God, we thank you that we can pause in this meeting to ask your blessings, your guidance upon our committee here in all that they do, the plans that they make, the decisions. Father, we pray that you'll bless these supervisors, give them wisdom, and Father, for the betterment of our county in which we live. We thank you for its growth, and we thank you for where we are. But God, we pray for your continued blessings. Guide them in every decision. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. And our pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Next order of business is citizens' time. Doesn't look like we have anybody signed up to speak for citizens' time. Is there any citizens that would like to speak? Okay, we'll move on. Next item of business is our minutes from previous meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
Mr. Chairman, I make that motion.
Okay, motion to approve the minutes as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion on the minutes? All right, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Horning?
Aye.
I was absent.
Okay.
Aye.
And aye. So we've got 5-4, 1 abstention, and 1 absent today. Next item of business, payment of our invoices. Do you have a motion to approve the invoices?
I make a motion, we pay the bills.
Second motion.
Got a motion and a second to approve the invoices. Any discussion?
Actually, there was one I had a question. Brown Exterminating, there was 2 of them in there for Speedwell Fire Department. Did they do both buildings or something, or did we get billed twice? Need a page number, Steve?
It's on page 617 of the board packet.
Yeah.
Looks like it's $2 $40 charges.
It just seemed odd to me that we'd have 2. Okay.
Anybody know the answer to that question? Okay.
If you'd like to pull it out and approve the rest of them, I'll go pull it and Mr. Grant can get the information for you.
Well, I mean, I don't guess it's a big deal. I mean, if something happens that it's a double, if they double billed us, I mean, we can
Would they
straighten it.
possibly have done both buildings, old and 2?
That's what I was wondering.
Because $40 seems like a basic charge.
Yeah.
So
Actually, it's
I would
2
imagine-
invoice numbers, so it's
Oh.
209141 and 209142, so it's 2 separate billings.
I would guess that it was the fire department and the old one too.
Okay. I'm fine with that. I just wanted to ask.
Okay.
Actually,
Any
it's 2
other,
different dates.
Any other discussion? So we have a motion and a second. We will be checking on that to make sure that's not a double billing situation. Go ahead and do a roll call vote. Dr. Hausman?
Aye.
And 6-4 and 1 absent. Next item is old business. We don't have anything listed. Mr. Dalton, anything we need to discuss under old business?
No, sir.
All right, we'll move on to reports. First item on reports is our treasurer, Mr. Sam Crockett.
Morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Sam.
On our consolidated account report, if I can get my fingers to work, we're currently at $44,912,000 on all of our accounts. Our general fund balance is at $25,508,000. And then for our collections to date, as of Monday afternoon, we've collected $7,135,235 worth of taxes. That's about 40% of what we have out, so we still got quite a bit more to come in. Hopefully, it'll come in. And exoneration-wise, we're already over 4,100 exonerations on these old cars, so we'll have a bunch more of those. It'll probably be February before we get all those worked. I still got a stack of 1,200 of them in the office. I haven't taken Faye's office yet because of she said she didn't have time to work, and right now we're focusing on waiting on the people that come in that have the errors and the problems. We're focusing on those, and it may be February before we get all these things worked and processed. But like I said, then Mike had a bunch. We finally ran some districts comparing town of Whitfield that were marked wrong. They had Wythe County instead of the town of Whitfield. He had about 500 of those. We've got to exonerate and supplement back to him for his taxes. That's been a problem for town of Whitfield and town of Retreat for quite a while. We're trying to get it fixed. And finally, David came up with a routine, and we checked the town of Whitfield's, and we found about 500 mistakes. And that's a lot of, them missing their taxes right now. So we're working on that. But anybody got any questions? All right, thank y'all.
Thank you, Sam. Next on the agenda is Sheriff, Mr. King.
Good morning.
Morning.
Just a couple of items. Trash pickup has slowed down somewhat. Mother Nature has not been very cooperative, but we're still up to 102,750 pounds for this year, which is considerably more than the first 6 months of what we had previously picked up the first 6 months of the program. Last time I was here, I talked to you all about the issue on mental transports, and I was asked to do some research on that and give you all some figures, which I have. These are total on TDOs, temporary detention orders, which is what we do mental transports on. Since January of this year, this is both the town of Whitfield and Wythe County, but the majority have been hauled by Wythe County deputies. But it is an issue since we have Whitfield representatives here. We've done 266 mental transports to the end of October. Of those, 79 have been to Radford. Only 48 have been to Southwestern State, which is what used to be near 100% would go to Southwestern State. But as I told you last year, they have cut back the operations there so much that we don't get to take people there now. In 10 months, we've only been able to take 48 people there, yet we've had to take 79 to Radford. We've taken 51 to Galax, and then we get into the really serious ones, in my opinion. 22 have gone to Salem, which is a 160-mile round trip. 43 have gone to Stanton, which is a 304-mile round trip. 2 we've had to send to Petersburg, which is a 488-mile round trip. We've taken 7 to Roanoke, 160 miles. 2 to Lynchburg, 270 miles, round trip once again. 13 to Lebanon, which this one kind of surprised me. It's closer to Lebanon than it is to Roanoke, even though it seems a whole lot longer drive to me to have to go to Lebanon. But that's still 154 miles. And then we had to take 1 to Richmond, which is a 410-mile round trip. When we take them to Richmond, when we take them to Petersburg, we absolutely positively have to send 2 officers. That's too long a time frame to expect either the officer or the patient not to have to stop somewhere and use a restroom. So it's an officer safety issue. It's also an officer safety issue that we're having to take 2 people off the road that are covering our county for safety's sake to take a mental patient these distances. Normally, I call in somebody that's off duty when we have a really long distance transport, just to keep the strength here in the county to be able to respond to emergencies. So I have been paying overtime to off-duty officers for that. But that should give you a pretty good snapshot of what we're experiencing. And I'll be honest with you, I pity the people out in Scott, Lee, Dickinson, Buchanan, that are having the same issues we are. Yes, they can get to Lebanon. Yes, they can get a few to Southwest State, but they're still having to go to Stanton, Petersburg, Richmond, Roanoke as well. So we really do need to get the General Assembly to put Southwest State back in business. Not get them in the secondary road that role that they're in now for the acceptance of these mental patients. The reverse side of this is we occasionally have to go pick them up again and transport them to another facility, which are not in these figures.
I know Sheriff, you mentioned this, I think the second time I've heard it, can we add that to, I think we've got a legislative dinner coming up. Can we add that maybe to a list of discussion points? We're going to be meeting with some legislators.
We told the General Assembly it was going to be a huge strain on us without either additional personnel or additional bids, and we've been asking for additional bids for years, along with the mental health people. You know, because we're on the ground. We know what's going on. We're not in the General Assembly that says, oh, simple, just send them here. They're not looking at how far we are from anywhere.
We can get that message to our representatives. Of course, I would imagine it's preaching to the choir, the representatives in this side of the state, but maybe they can give us some insight on how we can help you and all the other localities.
That's the thing.
In this area.
It's affecting everybody. It's affecting the town of Whitfield. Every other town and county in Southwest Virginia is struggling with the same issue.
Well, Sheriff King, several years ago, I worked for Mount Rogers as an on-call person. Petersburg was basically reserved for those that were involved in crimes. Is that still the case? It's not?
No.
Okay.
No, it's secondary now for a standard mental detention.
Okay. Well, that was about the only reason.
Yeah, it used to be for the criminally insane, and it was actually, it was a true detention center. It wasn't a treatment center, even though they do treatment, but they didn't do the short-term treatment.
Well, I know at that time, if it was if they had committed a crime, but there was some mental issues involved in that, Petersburg was the only place.
Only alternative.
Yeah, at that time, and I didn't know. I know that you said 2, I think, to Petersburg,
Yes.
and I wondered if that was still in effect.
Yeah, when push comes to shove, the way the legislation is written, whoever has an open bid You know, they try to get them close. You know, I'm not faulting Mount Rogers on this.
No, you always start with the closest place first.
Exactly.
And sometimes
And
you're there for hours.
It takes hours. It takes hours. I mean, it's not unusual for us to spend 14 hours with a mental patient. Now, you know, there's an 8-hour limit as passed by the General Assembly, but, you know, there's a whole lot of time in there. Gosh dang it. Pardon me.
I hope that wasn't your wife.
She'll understand. Yeah, probably be somebody else that didn't understand. Probably one of my deer hunting buddies wanting to tell me he killed a big one. But, you know, we have to spend so much time with them because of the medical evaluation, which isn't figured into the 8-hour.
No, that's true, because the officer has to stay there.
You know, there was talk at one time of putting basically drop-off centers to where you could pick up a mental patient, take them to these drop-off centers. They would do all of both the mental health and the physical health evaluations before we would get the order to do the transport. That hasn't happened. So there's, you know, it all boils down to money. And more is just being put on localities. Long and short. But that's all I have unless y'all have some.
Anybody got any questions for Sheriff King? Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, next on the agenda is a report from the Water Committee. Gene, do you have that?
Yeah. The Water Committee met on November the 18th, 2014, and recommends approval of the following. To approve a leak adjustment for Harry Capura. Is that how you pronounce it? Shapira. At the service address of 1803 Austinsville Road. You can read the average and all that stuff, but basically the adjusted bill amount will be $166.63.
Okay, coming from a committee, it does not need a second. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and do a roll call vote. Mr. Horning?
Aye.
Aye.
And aye. Motion carries 6-0, one absent.
All right, and the second thing that we had was to authorize staff to develop the requirements for a payment plan. That's for anybody that's gotten behind or something.
We don't have anything on,
We don't have a plan now, right?
No.
So we was wanting some criteria.
the plan's not go turn the water off. Okay. Any discussion on this recommendation coming from committee?
I think that this was, the spirit of this was to be able to help people who may not have the resources to go ahead and pay the bill. It's not particularly for somebody who has the resources to, you know, pay it, to give them an easier way to do it. This is sort of to protect those people who may be struggling.
Any other comments? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Dr. Hausman?
Aye.
Aye.
And aye. Motion carries 6-0, one absent. Next on the agenda is the Budget Committee. I was out of town last week, I think, Steve. Can you do that, Gary?
We have three things that we need to bring to the board. The first one is to authorize staff to work with VML VACO on a loan package agreement for voting machines in January 2015. We met with VML VACO at the VACO conference and talked about loans and loan requirements and that sort of thing. And one of the things that they did was loans releases for equipment. And when we came back, excuse me, Mr. Dalton, happened to think about the voting machines, which was a very good thing. And it's a really good deal. I know that we looked at the 4-year plan and the 5-year plan. We were recommending the 5-year plan just simply because there is not there's appreciable difference or negligible difference in the interest payment over that extra year, and it cuts the yearly debt service down. Right now, I think we have $40,000 or about $40,000 in that account, and so the first payment would be the payments would be a little over $28,000. So that means that we have enough for about 1.5 years to pay for it, even right now, worked into the budget.
I do see some members of the electoral board here, GW and Robert. Sis, any comments?
Well, I called Sis yesterday to tell her, explain what we were trying to accomplish and invite her here. One of the things I'd asked her, obviously this will happen in the next fiscal year since we don't have any capacity in this fiscal year for the bonding, but in January to actually ask the vendor to come and the electoral board to attend one of our meetings to make a demonstration of these new voting machines to everybody and anybody that wants to attend, and then get this package finished up so that they could get some training, I think, as part of this bid package. Sis, come up and help me.
Sis, you have a real job now.
That the vendor will actually come provide the training and actually attend the first election next
Yes.
year.
Well, now that is what, if I may just say, the information that we have was collected almost a year ago, about 9 months ago. The information that we were given at that time was for a straight purchase, 3 years, 4 years, or 5 years. That was only good for 60 days. So anything, we'd have to go back and work with them. Chairman Reeves and Mr. Hale did come to a demonstration that we had back in maybe September, I believe. And it was with one of the companies that, the company that is representing us now, and we feel like has done a great job for us and their equipment. But, of course, we have a new person on the electoral board now, Robert Kegley, and Robert is not familiar with any of the things that GW and I have been able to see through the past year. So, again, we'd like to bring him up to speed, and there are some things that are written here that I think has been given to you all to see in some of the amounts that we just are not real sure about the total figure, what it might be, Mr. Houseman. But when you were mentioning 28,000, maybe?
We were looking at an amortization chart on $130,000 over a 5-year period.
Okay, now that one that I have, if I'm figuring it right, would be about 31,000.
Well, this was, again, it was for a set amount of $130,000
okay.
through VML VACO, not through the voting machine, not that.
Okay.
So if we did it through VML VACO, it would be, we would just, purchase the machines and make the, the payment back on the loan here.
Now, how does that work with, how do we get the company that you all would help us to choose, or, we might choose, to get that in on the mix?
Well, that's not, whoever
Actually,
whoever you all choose.
We'll have to put out a proposal because there's only a certain number of people that's approved by the state of Virginia, the way I understand it. Everybody's shaking their head yes. At that point in time, and based off our call, or my call, we think it's going to be around $130,000. So we did not what they presented to you, because we're getting a lot better interest rate.
Yeah.
It's a tax-exempt bank qualified. So we're looking at an interest rate of 2% or less, and they were quoting a lot higher.
Okay, so basically, you all will authorize a certain amount of money, and then we need to work within that realm, is that correct?
Actually, if we'll work with you like we did last time, and we'll go through this bid process and get the quotes in. I would assume the quotes will go to y'all. Y'all will recommend to us, like in 1995 or 4 or whatever it was that happened. And from that point, we'll end up closing this It's actually a lease purchase. They call it loan, I call it lease purchase.
So, well,
It's
that's,
just a matter of saving probably about, what, $6,000 or $7,000 a year difference in what the vendors quote.
well, we're just so grateful that you all would consider it, and if there is any way that we could get the equipment and get the people trained and be able to use those for the November election, which will be a large county election, we certainly would appreciate it, and we'd be.
Well, if I may ask a question, it doesn't have anything to do with the financing. I think it's answered, but I just want to confirm that. Whatever voting machine we have, it will still be, people will physically be marking those ballots.
correct.
There's no touch screen, there's no computer pushing a button, anything like that, right?
Not unless you, that's correct, the auto marks, you might have some on that. but
Right,
that's
I
for
understand
paperwork,
for,
But on the machine, you'll still, and like if someone would want to do a write-in, they actually would write it, and it will be printed on the tape, and you can actually see the signature, and see who they vote. It's really a lot of advancements in the past 20 years, and I'd say, if I may, would you all have anything to add to it? Carolyn?
I'd just like to ask a question on if we have the people here in January and have a bid from them, do you still have to advertise after that? I'm trying to get the mechanics so we can.
Well, the mechanics is that for us to do it the way we want to do it, to purchase them, it has to happen after January the 1st. So, and for us to comply with the procurement law, we're going to have to get those quotes in sometime, Chief.
So we need multiple quotes?
We do. I mean, you can write there's not, from what I understand, and maybe you or whoever had sent it to me last year, there's several of these, but there's only so many approved systems in the state of Virginia. And all those have some kind of a ballot form, the way I understand it.
We have personally viewed 3 of them.
Yeah. So, some of them are a lot more, the way I understand it, a lot more expensive than the one y'all are talking to, or if narrowed your choices down to. So, I don't see it as a problem. It's just a matter of crossing some I's and dotting some I's, crossing T's.
We will need an additional bid in addition to the one.
Well, unless we can rule out that they're not what we want within our specs.
I don't think that's a problem, yeah. If you can give us a date, then we'll be glad to contact you.
January,
So we can get it.
The 4th day meeting.
So you want the 4th, you want it on the
Fourth,
day meeting?
yeah, the 4th Tuesday of the month, which will be,
Neil, I can figure that out.
whatever date that will be.
Okay, that's fine, yeah.
It will be the 27th of January, it says.
Okay,
2015, if you can believe 2015.
okay, and it'll probably be sometime in the morning, whatever.
Yes.
9:30, 10 o'clock. Okay, yeah. Well, you all have any questions?
I have a question. These old machines, are they going to be obsolete? I mean, is anybody else in the state using them?
The bid does include taking all of the old machines. And
Taking them
giving us-
all?
Yes, sir, this one bid does. Now, of course, that's another thing that I believe, we're not real sure that the other bids did include that they would even take those machines. And so they'll take everything, yeah. We'll have totally new equipment. One thing that does not show up in here that David has made us aware of is the fact that our present computers that we use for the electronic poll books are beginning to give us problems. And I think that would probably run us maybe to replace those somewhere in the neighborhood of $4,000 or $5,000, because it can be a very, very basic computer. And it'd be for those, we need 2 at each precinct. So I think that if there's some way in working this in, we can do that. It's something that we'd hate to have all that new equipment and then have problems with the electronic poll book. So we would like to be able to work with it.
I thought maybe that we might get American Pickers to come in for the bid on it.
Oh, okay, do you think we might just sell the metal and get more out of it? Would you do that for us? Okay. Well, we do. We certainly appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Okay, the recommendation from the committee at this point is just to authorize staff to work with VML VACO on the loan package agreement for the voting machines in January of 2015. Of course, the expense would be in the next fiscal year, so it'd be part of our new budget. Any other discussion on this? I'll go ahead and do a roll call vote. Mr. Horny?
Aye.
And aye.
Second thing is, this is for the Sheriff's Department to transfer $6,000 from 3102-48205 for overtime as follows. $2,000 to 31024-41200, and $4,000 to 31025-41200.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Dr. Hausman?
Aye.
Aye.
And aye.
And the third thing, and of course this is in your packet, and I'm sure you had an opportunity to read it. We recommend advertising a public hearing for consideration of the employee bonus ordinance for 2015-16, or is that 2014-15?
It's for 2014.
2014.
Yes.
Okay.
It's ordinance number 2014-05.
Okay.
Any discussion on the motion to set a public hearing?
That public hearing would be set for December
December
the 9th, isn't that right?
Yes, sir.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Horny?
Aye.
And aye. Okay, that concludes the Budget Committee report. Mr. Dalton, if you don't mind, before we get to your report, we do have some guests here from Goodwill Industries, Miss Misty Adams. If you don't mind, I'd like to just change the order a bit and invite her to the podium to make a presentation. Ms. Adams, we appreciate you being here today to share an update with us.
Thank you for the opportunity. Do you mind if I?
Nope.
I just want to
Thank you.
read you some information.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have three others if anybody wants any. Basically, the reason that Goodwill wanted to come today and speak to you is we would like to see if we can form a partnership. Whether that would be access to possibly having one of our buildings at your recycling centers, or maybe through town property. The reason I ask this is we do this in other areas such as Rockbridge. We have a new relationship with Bedford County as well. And what we're doing is placing these boxes in so the community can come and they can donate anything from the old, you're talking about the old voting things, we would take those. So if you decide to go with a company that wouldn't take them, then Goodwill will come and take them for you, and we would recycle them, and you wouldn't have to worry about that, just to let you know. Anything from clothing to household items, if they have a car, I mean, all kinds of things that they can donate to Goodwill, and that we're more than thankful to offer some sort of convenience for everybody. There are several options that they can do that, and if you wouldn't mind looking at this paper here, you can see where it says you can host a Goodwill donation location. And so the little blue boxes are outside 24-hour donation boxes, and they are about 5 by 5. They take up about a half of a parking spot, and this is something that Goodwill would come through on a weekly basis and empty and clean out. We want to make sure that there is no trash and nothing that would be an eyesore to the community. If there was any other types of services that would be needed. If there was furniture laying around it, then you could certainly give me a call and I would make sure that's taken care of immediately. On the other side of it is an attended donation center. And I have been working with Jennifer on trying to get this in the rural retreat area as well. What we have here is, obviously this is attended, so what we can do is employ 2 people in the community. One person gets full-time with benefits, and the other person would just get part-time employment. But this is a great convenience for anyone who wants to pull up and have an attendant come out to their car, help them with their donation, give them a tax receipt, and hopefully give them a Goodwill experience. This is also a way they can contact our logistics department and say, hey, this box is filling up, and we desperately need somebody to come and clean this out for us. So these are 2 different options that Goodwill offers now as a convenience. Instead of taking it to a store, they have these 2 other options. So a lot of times, people see Goodwill as just a storefront, and they have no clue what Goodwill actually does with their donations. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to share some programs with you that we do in this area. We have youth programs. It could be anything from youth mentoring to any sort of youth that is troubled, have been to juvie, or have a probation officer. They can get some guidance with Goodwill to help them with their education, to complete high school, and then further on to college. We have a reality check program where we actually go into the middle schools and high schools, and the kids tell us what they want to be when they grow up, how many kids, cars, house they want. And it's a reality check on if they can afford this and what type of education that they would need to have this type of lifestyle. We also have youth work experience that's offered for disadvantaged teens. We have Project Search. This is a disabled teens program, and it's after high school, so we can help individuals actually get a job and be completely self-sufficient. Other things that we offer are adult services, and it can be anything from a dislocated worker. If there is a company that hopefully they're not, but they lay off a bunch of people and they need help finding jobs, then Goodwill can bring them in, either enhance their skills, or from what they already, the skills they already have, they can help them find new jobs. We also have programs for adults with disabilities. We have senior worker programs. We also have prisoner reentry programs, and a lot of people didn't know that that's something that Goodwill does offer. So if I could just tell you a quick story, we had a gentleman, and he was incarcerated for 7 years for drug distribution. When he got out, as a part of his parole, he had to work with Goodwill. And so he wanted to go to college, and he really wanted to do something better with his life and not go back to the old lifestyle. So he had to go through several different assessment testing, and he's got to prove that he was willing to do it. But Goodwill sent him to Virginia Western. They paid for it, and then he later on went to Virginia Tech, also with the support of Goodwill. And now he's a civil engineer, and he works for the Water Authority. And normally they wouldn't have given him an opportunity, but because he was in the Goodwill program, they gave him an opportunity. So he started as an intern, and now he's married, he bought a house, and he has kids, and he has a wonderful life. So I'm not sure if he would have been given that if he didn't come through the Goodwill program. And so I think that says a lot about some of the things that Goodwill does. Other things that we do is anyone who needs help finding a job, whether it be mom and she's been a stay-at-home mom for 10 years and she's ready to get back into the workforce. She has no clue how to use a computer, or maybe it's a little iffy, so she can certainly come in for free, and Goodwill would help her enhance her skills and certainly find her a job that was good for her. So these are the things that we do with every single donation that comes into Goodwill, whether it's to our stores, our blue Edgar boxes, or the white boxes I discussed already with you. 91 cents of every dollar that Goodwill makes goes back into the community. To let you know that our service area is 31 counties and 17 cities. It is a large territory. It used to be 2 Goodwills, and they merged them into 1. So a lot of people always want to know, are my donations staying local? 100%. Within that service area, it is absolutely staying local. You'll also see the 2013 economic impact that's in your packet too. You can just review that whenever you would like to. And I kind of just want to go over a little bit with you some obstacles that Goodwill's having and why we're being so proactive and coming forward and asking for help. I don't know if you've seen any sort of competitor boxes around town that may be white and say clothes and shoes on them. Has anybody seen anything like that? Well, they'll come, I'm sure. So they're yellow boxes, they're green boxes, and it's several different companies, but they are for-profit companies, and they're based out of Baltimore, D.C., Richmond, Philadelphia, and they're coming down to these areas, and they're putting boxes out, and people are thinking that they're Goodwill or Salvation Army or some other nonprofits, and they're not. Some of them, some localities are making the boxes put for-profit on them now, but there's more that there isn't. So I know for sure if my husband walked up to a box and he saw Goodwill and he saw one that said clothes and shoes, he would sift through our bags and he would give clothes and shoes to where it says clothes and shoes, and he would give the rest of it to Goodwill. And I think he would feel like he's being responsible doing that. But actually what happens is they're taking those clothes and the donations that they're getting, they're pulling it out of the community and then they're selling it. So, and they're making an insane amount of money with that. This is something that Bedford County was working with as one of our competitors. And fortunately for us, I was able to get in there, talk to them about how Goodwill keeps their donations in the community, how we help the people in the community. And after an 8-year relationship, they're willing to drop them and come and work with us. So I'm really grateful for that. So that's some obstacles that we're having, and coming out here and letting people know some things that Goodwill does, the programs that we offer, and we really do hope that people will be mindful when it comes to a donation. And so I'm here asking you if you can give us any help in this area. Any questions? Does anybody want to give me any property? I can have it there today.
I don't think my property would help you.
Your husband probably does that because he knows if he does that one time, you'll do it the next.
Right?
May I ask a question? It really is, it's a little off topic a little bit, but you mentioned if you go to one of the buildings that have an attendant, and I've done that, numerous times. I go and I unload the truck or the car or whatever, and they're very kind and they take it in.
Good.
Then they always ask me, do I want a receipt?
Yes.
And I always say no.
Okay.
But who determines the value?
You do. You determine the value, and that will be between you and the IRS.
Okay.
You like that?
Well, okay. I may donate some very expensive items. No, I wondered if that's what it was. I've always just said no because, if I'm making a donation, I'm just making a donation. But I just wondered about that.
It is. They are responsible for writing down exactly what you bring, 3 boxes of clothes, 1 bag of clothes, and then it's up to you to put a value on it, and then you would.
And then the unattended boxes are just donations.
Exactly. It does say on there that if you wanted a receipt, that you can certainly call this number, but people that use that box typically don't expect or want a tax receipt. I would ask if next time you go and ask for a tax receipt, we have new ones, and they're really nice. They're brochures now, because we do want to let people know what we're doing with their donations. Like I said, a lot of people just think we're a storefront. And so really putting that word out there and having that in our tax receipt's been fantastic. So one more thing, and I'll stop, is this is our 2013 annual report. It's also in your folder I gave you. On the back part of here, you can see that some of our good deeds, and for just 2013, Goodwill Industries of the Valley served almost 90,000 individuals in our service area. We also kept over 14.7 million pounds of materials out of the landfill with our recycle and reuse programs. I'm the event coordinator, and so what I do is I go around pretty much to elementary school all the way up to colleges and universities. And so for colleges, for example, when students are moving out, instead of throwing everything in the dumpster, then I can come up there with a team of people and we can set up boxes and staff and tents and all that, make it kind of fun. And so the students come and they give us the items that they want to donate instead of throwing away, and it's really been successful. And so in just this year, we added UVA, we added Liberty University, Washington and Lee is coming on soon. And so we're very thankful for different colleges being open to us being there and us being able to get donations from them. So you can see all the good deeds from 2013 that Goodwill did. And on the front part, there's some stories of individuals that we helped in different areas. So you can familiarize yourself with that as well. Does anybody have any questions for me? Okay, you can see there in my card, it's inside. I stapled it for you so you'll never lose it. And you can email me or call me if you have any questions or if you'd like to participate in a box placement. Thank you.
Sean, I mean, I personally think it's be a good thing to, for us to partner with. Would there be any issues with our contract for our vendor at the convenience center?
I don't know, we'll need to look at that.
Would that go to the Building and Grounds Committee?
Probably first to go to the county attorney to see if, what our
I
options
think,
are.
Ms. Adams, I think it is something we would like to explore. We'll probably need to check our contract with our vendor and make sure, because they do some recyclables and things, and but perhaps next month's agenda, maybe our day meeting, we could revisit it and see what we need to do to move things forward. We've got your contact information,
Yes.
so we'll be in contact with you. So
One thing, if you don't mind, just throw out
Sure.
real quickly, is with Bedford County, we are doing this partnership not just with the Bedford County Recycling, but we're also doing it with their domestic balance. And so a part of the proceeds that come from that box will go back to the domestic balance. And so if there's a veterans or anything like that that you would like to tie it together, then we're more than happy to discuss that, so Goodwill can also give back in a different way.
I appreciate your report in terms of what Goodwill is doing in the community. I don't know that I was aware of that. Mr. Mayor?
I think you have a box at Royal Tree at the food country.
Yes.
There now. Is there one at the food country in the Fort Smith one?
There is. The one at Rural Retreat, it was actually one box, and it was covered all the time, and we couldn't keep it. We went there 4 or 5 times a week. We're trying to get the bright box there for the attendants. We've had a little bit of problems with that. Just getting an answer. Jennifer's been helping me a lot with that to try to get that to go through. To try to help, we've placed 2 boxes there now, but we really would like to employ 2 people in that community and really make it easier and more convenient for everybody.
The donations, they were overwhelming the box.
They are.
Generous people at Roy Tree.
It really,
I know people that need work in Rural Tree.
very generous. I mean,
Yeah.
it's such an eyesore. Unfortunately, talk with people in that community, they're saying, I really want to donate to you, and I have a whole bedroom ready to bring to you, but that box
nowhere.
is always full. And so if it's rained on or sold, obviously we can't sell it. And so we were trying to find a solution to it, but we have to get permission from Food Country to do that. If anybody can help with that, that'd be great. We've been trying for about a year.
That's on you, Gary.
I don't know any of the food country people.
Well, thank you for
Thank you.
coming. Thank you. Thanks, Jennifer, John. All right, I think we've got everybody. Next item, we'll go back to our reports and pick up on our agenda with the county administrator's report.
I think Artie, the first item is the Route 52 Jackson water line. We have closed the loan last Tuesday. That project has gotten started. The actual loan was $151,809, and the project cost was actually $276,000. Part of which was $124,000 was principal forgiveness or a grant. The second item is Mr. Reeves is not here. He's on the VACO Board of Directors. They've asked us to share this with all supervisors and encourage you to become Virginia Certified County, enter the Virginia Certified County Supervisors Program. The brochure is in my report. Hopefully some of y'all would consider that as we move forward. That is, I think, conference anyway, some of the past graduates extolled the virtues of it, and Andy McCready from Pulaski was the recent graduate. Says it's opened his eyes to being a supervisor. Next item is a letter from the Court Services unit in the old courthouse. With everybody else in the state of Virginia, their budget's getting cut. Since they can't replace their secretary, they'd like for us to replace their telephone system so that, and I would request that just be referred to the building and grounds. We're getting the cost of what it's going to cost to convert their telephone system over to a PBX system. It doesn't hardly seem fair that the state of Virginia cuts their funding and we're asked to come up with a means to solve their problems. The next is the letter for our permit to discharge into the Shorts Creek over at exit 24. We will start filling out those monthly reports that there's no discharge, but we are proceeding with the public hearings and advertisements and moving forward with that project. Hopefully we'll be under construction sometime next summer. The next item is a summary of the bids for the $990,000 or $10 million, whatever you want to call it, from VACO VML for the conversion of the interim financing that we had for Rural Retreat Elementary School, Sheffey Elementary School, or Rural Retreat Middle School, Sheffey Elementary School, the community center, and also a portion of that is for the Barron Springs water system. About 10% of the money is for the Barron Springs water system that would be repaid by the water customers over there, which is about $63,000 a year or so for that portion of the debt service. The debt portion was for the schools $564,300. We actually budgeted, got that covered in this year's budget already. We would like to move forward to notify the low bidder. We would recommend that the board move forth the 20-year amortization, 15-year term. What happens with that, there's a reset after 15 years, or a potential reset if interest rates, the max that 2.36% interest rate could go up is to 3.47. But even if it went up to the max for the last 5 years and it wasn't repaid, it's still the lowest number of repayment and interest we would pay on any of the options. So we would ask a couple of things of the board, that you accept that 15-year term, 20-year amortization with one reset capacity. The second portion of that, after you accept that, allow us to move forward with awarding the Barron Springs water project so that can move forward, contingent upon getting the change order approved through the health department. And we'd ask for that board to take action on that.
Okay. Do we have a motion to, first of all, I guess, accept the low bid on the bond issuance for the purposes of permanent financing on school construction, the Sheffey Gymnasium, and the Barron Springs water project?
Do we need two motions or one? Or?
Sounds like
Either way you want to do it. We just would like to move forward with this Barron Springs thing. The actual public hearing and loan closing won't be until December the 9th, but if you'll if you'll accept the recommendation so we can prepare the bond documents for that, the recommended alternative, that would be great.
Mr. Vice Chair, I would make the motion then that we accept, I think it's option 2, and, 2.36% for 15 years with the reset for the last 5 years. And in doing that, go ahead and authorize us to, what's the word I'm looking for, to enter into, to complete the paperwork for the Barron Springs?
Authorize the contract to proceed.
Okay, authorize the contract to proceed, thank you. Words were failing me, but I'll put that all in one motion.
Okay, we've got a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
The nice thing about this is that if, as we pay this off, I know that a couple of years ago, or maybe a year ago, we were able to pay off some smaller loans, and so, hopefully, in 15 years, we may not even need a reset for the last 5 years. That's a possibility.
Mm-hmm. And Mr. Dalton, he stated this in his comments, but just, I guess, as a point of clarification, the Barron Springs Water Project, the money that's going to be used to repay that portion of the bond issuance is not coming from general fund dollars, but from the residents that will get the benefit of the water.
Through their monthly bills.
So I think may have been some confusion on that. So that's consistent with what, and just, with our VDH funding, Mr. Dalton, what was the difference in the interest rate from the VML VACO low bidder?
10, 12 basis points.
10, somewhere in that vicinity. All right, any further discussion? All right, we'll go ahead and, hearing none, we'll go ahead and proceed with a roll call vote. Dr. Hausman.
Aye.
Yep.
Aye.
And aye. Motion carries 6-0 with 1 absent. Turn it back over to you, Mr. Dalton.
Next item is that the Virginia Fire Program's money will, at least 90% of it's going to be available on December 19th. I'm having a little meeting with the fire chiefs next Thursday evening. They will need to get all their information in so we can justify that money once we get it. So, but there is some potential that the last 10% will never come to the localities. Next item is a memo from the Secretary of Public Safety concerning potential civil disturbances and threats to public safety, and where we can get aid and which district that aid would come from. That's for information. We'll have an emergency service in the Denton Sheriff's Department. And, Mr. Chairman, I think that concludes my report.
Our county attorney's not present, so we'll skip that and go into Board of Supervisor reports. We'll start with the Blacklick District.
I don't have anything to say.
Okay. East Smithfield.
No report, but a request to move economic development from 4th to the 5th of December, same time. I'd like to be able to attend one.
Mr. Hale.
Have no problem.
I can do that as well. That's 3 members. Mr. Dalton, can you make that, is that okay with staff?
Sure.
Mr. Manley's point on that.
We'll get it out there.
Okay. Fort Chiswell District.
I've taken care of a citizen request to clear around the DAR monument on the frontage road, and VDOT says they're going to take care of it in the next few days. the locust trees and the honeysuckle have made that monument hidden. And they're gonna get down there this week, hopefully, and clear that. That'll make the DAR people happy.
Lead mines.
I had a few issues, but I had a good partner. He took care of Mr. Bear. He took care of a lot of them for me. I appreciate it.
Okay. And Speedwell?
Is VDOT still coming?
I don't know if they will or not.
They're gonna have to come pretty quickly, 'cause
I was gonna say, cause you gonna let us go? Sounds like a good deal to me. I mean, I don't know if they are coming or not, but if they came, I had a question for them about the construction on 619 St. Peter's Road, because I had heard that they were only doing half of it, and I was just wondering if we needed to put the other half on another 6-year plan, or what their deal is with that. And the other thing was, since the EPA says that the manure running off the top of the hill on Speedwell Hill is not an issue, I would like to know if VDOT can do something to keep it from running across the middle of the road. Because I don't want to drive the bus through it no more than I have to. The other thing I had was the sale of property in Speedwell. I had been asked about it. Have we voted to actually sell the surplus property?
Yes.
I thought we had.
Springtime.
We are going to sell it in the spring?
Yeah.
Okay. What about the property in Speedwell? I mean, is the money going to be earmarked for Speedwell Fire Department, or what would y'all like to discuss, or do you want to discuss it?
I can give an opinion. My opinion is that it would go back to the fire department. I mean, it was a community organization, and it should go back to the community who built it.
Well, I mean, that's my thought too, but I'm from Speedwell, so that makes me a little biased on that.
They've got a request that they're talking about out there. I think if you did that, it ought to go toward purchasing that equipment.
I agree.
They got the fattest bank account in the county,
I agree.
and they're sitting on it.
Well, you ain't been to a fire meeting lately. They ain't sitting on it.
Well,
You're talking about the expedition. Expedition, yeah.
That's
Got it on my
all the
mind.
people.
Extrication equipment.
yeah, they don't want a massive big truck, is that right?
I don't believe they want a massive big truck, no.
Right. So I wouldn't have a problem if they earmark what they're going to do with it, but I would have a problem with just giving them that amount of money without.
Oh, and I've already told them that I didn't think that it should just be given back to them. I mean, I think it should be earmarked for something.
And when I say
big
stay in the
down the line.
community, I agree with Mr. Hill. I'm not talking about just handing the money back over, but they did ask specifically for extrication equipment.
Right.
And, yeah, I think it should go for that. But whatever benefits, that community.
Right. So do we need that in a motion or anything, or is that just a consensus of the board, or?
Well, I really don't know
Or does it
what
need to go to
you're,
fire and rescue?
really don't know what you're spending until
I'm not asking that it be spent on anything. I'm just asking that it be earmarked for Speedwell, for the fire
I think if
department.
you want to make that motion,
Well, then I'll make the motion that the money from the Speedwell Fire Department be earmarked for the Speedwell Fire Department.
Would you add equipment?
Yeah, I can add equipment.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay. Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
And what we're doing here is being preemptive. I mean, we don't have any money.
Right.
We haven't sold anything yet.
Right. I'm just, every time I turn around, I'm getting asked about it, so I'm just trying to get them an answer.
And I'm assuming you're saying net, when there's a sales cost and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, all that's got to come out of it. I mean,
and it's only the Speedwell
Firehouse. Because, did you ever find out the land, was it bought? Well, we'll talk about that in a minute.
We've got a motion and a second. And if I understand the motion is take the net proceeds of the sale of the old Speedwell Fire Department, allocate those to the Speedwell Fire Department for the purchases of purchasing equipment. Okay. Hearing no further discussion, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Horn.
Aye.
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 And aye. Motion carries 6-0 with one absent.
Thank you.
Any other update from you, Mr. Horn?
I think it's good enough.
Okay, I don't have anything from West Withville, so
Mr. Vice Chair, could I bring up two things
Sure.
that come to mind? One is, since Mr. Horning mentioned the property, I'd like to request that the property in front of Retreat Elementary School, that small lot, be removed from the property that we are going to sell. It's right, at the road. I'm not sure that, what we would realize from selling that is going to be as profitable as keeping that area, clear right there. It's right, it's a hill,
I was gonna say, where is it? I mean,
It's heading up into Rosewood Elementary School. It's the property on the right,
on the right.
or Route 11 and Marshall Board Way.
is it
How many acres?
fenced off now? I mean, or is it part of, does it appear to be part of the,
Yes.
of the way going up into the school now? So basically, if you sold it, you would have a block there that would be cut out, right next to the road.
Basically, everything between Marshall Board Way, Route 11, and that existing house on the western side of it.
Okay.
So I would request that we remove that from the list of surplus property to sell.
okay. Does that need to be put in a motion, I would assume?
I will make that as a motion.
We have a motion to remove that property
There's
in
really-
Rural
that's this
Retreat
piece of
from
property
the,
right
Yeah, that's
from
what I
being
thought.
sold. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Dr. Hausman?
Aye.
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 And aye.
And the other thing, Mr. Vice Chair, is the county attorney's report had an ordinance about exempting the Genealogical and Historical Association from real property taxation. Or have we set a public hearing for that, or do we need to do that?
We have to set a public hearing. This is the draft ordinance that
Okay,
you asked him to develop.
so then I would make a motion that we set a public hearing for that.
Okay, do we have a date that would work? Would we want to do it on December 9th? Would we want to do it?
I can't make it happen on December the 9th, December 23rd.
Will we meet?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, I didn't know, because most of the time we don't meet the second.
We've got some business to
Take care of it. I understand that.
Ho, ho, ho.
I love meeting on Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve.
Okay. Can we add that date, I guess, to the motion? Okay, so we have a motion to set a public hearing for purposes of discussing the ordinance on the exempt real property owned by Wythe County Genealogical and Historical Association for December 23rd. I guess that would be at 9:05.
I will make that motion.
And do we have a second? Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Horny?
Aye.
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 And aye. Anything else, Dr. Hausman?
No, thank you.
Okay.
Can we back up, Mr. Chairman, just a minute?
Sure.
Does Burns Springs have extrication equipment? You know they're gonna be in here wanting the same thing. Get ready for them. We have some property down there, it's no benefit to none of it. Not to the county, not that I know of. And I presume we own that old schoolhouse building down there.
I'll blame you, Coy.
I don't want to get into something, you know as well as I know how that bunch is down there, and
I
you
understand.
do one for one, you're gonna do for us.
No, they don't have any real extrication equipment at Barron Springs. There is a piece of property that the school board gave back to the county, the old schoolhouse at the corner of Castleton and Weiser Highway. Part of that deed, somewhere when I was a young boy, the school board provided a deed or a use of that property to the Barron Springs Home Demonstration Club, that as long as they're active, they have full use of the property.
Well, her husband probably be the one that bought it.
And she was here yesterday. I think you sent her up here. And we talked about whether they were active or not active in the old firehouse building down there. I'd be more than happy to go with you, make a presentation down there to try to make that happen. But she claims that they're still active, and as long as they're active, the deed says they have full use of that building.
Well, I may just call her and talk to her.
Okay.
Thank you, I just wanted you to be ready for it, because it'll be coming.
Okay. Any other items of business to bring up from the supervisor's standpoint? All right, hearing none, we will move to new business, and the first item on this part of the agenda is the consent calendar. Do we have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I would so move that.
Okay. Do you have a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
I was beginning to think nobody agreed with me.
Got a motion to accept the consent calendar and a second. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Dr. Hausman?
Aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
And aye. Of course, Goodwill Industries has already spoken. Next item,
Do we need to send that to the county attorney, or are you just going to do that?
We're just going to do it.
Okay. Sorry.
okay. No, I think we'll send that to the county attorney. How about that? Next item is a letter from Hope Incorporated. It looks like traditionally, or historically, I guess, we have refunded, reimbursed the tax bill for the building that they used because it was privately owned. I think they own it now, but they did have ownership, didn't take ownership till middle of the year, so they're asking for some reimbursement for Mr. Keck.
Actually, we've never reimbursed them. The board can't reimburse anybody for their taxes. You can make a donation to a nonprofit.
Okay. So they're asking for a donation now. And they say reimbursement, but I guess they're asking for a donation that is equal to the amount of the real estate taxes on the building prior to their ownership. I think the amount is $807.12. So do we have a motion to make a donation to Hope Incorporated for that amount, or do we not?
Okay. This is for property they bought?
This is the property that they've had out here on the corner. This would be the old AEP building, the corner of 11 and 21.
Okay.
On an annual basis, y'all have made them a donation equal to the property taxes. Their agreement with Kex is they would pay the taxes, and tax has been paid. From this point forth, there'll never be another request to repay the taxes because Hope is a 501(c), so the property is tax exempt once they purchased it. The 80, whatever that number is, 807, is only a portion of the year taxes.
Okay. I would make that motion.
Okay, we do have a motion to make a donation to Hope Inc. for 80712. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
This money will go to Hope, that will get transferred to the people who sold the property.
Actually, this is Hope has already sent them a check, which is in your board package, to the Kecks. Whoever their lawyer was didn't get the proper checks from the proper people. He took it from the proceeds of the sale. The new owners, if you buy a new house or an old house or a piece of property, you're responsible for a certain portion of those taxes. The lawyer took it from the proceeds. I guess the owners, the previous owners caught it, they asked for be reimbursed. Hope reimbursed them for the taxes, and now they're asking for a donation equal to that amount.
Which is basically the same thing we've always done.
Yes.
Just at a lower amount because it's prorated part of the year.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Horning.
Aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
And aye. Motion carries 6-0. All right, the next item on the agenda is from Mr. Bowers about the convenience center contract. Mr. Dalton, can you shed some light on this for us, please?
Well, I guess the light I'll shed is I didn't go to the PSA meeting.
You don't want us to do stuff, you ought to be there.
The PSA board voted to close the transfer station on the day after Thanksgiving. Our agreement, the creation ordinance that the Board of Supervisors and Bland signed when we originally created them, only gave them 5 days off a year because trash is an essential service, just like water and wastewater, police service. It's got to be moved or it piles up. Since the PSA board granted them to be off this Friday and Saturday, I understand. If what will happen at the convenience centers if we can't haul trash on Thursday to the JPSA transfer station, all the centers will fill up probably on Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday we'll just have centers that you can't take any solid waste or trash or recyclables to. What we would ask that we just halfway mimic what the PSA is doing and close the center. So on Friday, reopen them on Saturday. We'll get them all cleared out tomorrow as best the contractor can. We'll have as many empty boxes. Hopefully that way we'll make it through the weekend using all the open tops and compactors, get them as clean as possible, or empty. I'd ask the JPSA not do this anymore. Live with our creation authorization of when they can close. Because if we open convenience centers Friday, they close Saturday and Sunday, all we'll be doing is fielding complaints that people can't get rid of their solid waste. So based off Mr. Bowers and what has happened, I would recommend that we close these centers on Friday and reopen them on Saturday and do the best we can to accept all the solid waste that anybody brings on Saturday and Sundays. But on Monday, the following Monday, which will be December the 1st, the PSA can expect 100 and some tons of trash from the county, which defeats the purpose of trying to get an equal flow of trash. So that's where we're at, guys.
So, you said they have 5 days a year?
Yeah, it's so many holidays a year that they can close.
And are they open normally on Saturday?
Yes,
Half a day.
half a day.
So then they're using basically half their allotment in one weekend?
They gave them additional time. That's what they've done.
But don't we
They're
have,
closed every Sunday. Sunday.
Right, I understand that, yeah.
They're still open a half a day Saturday was the last I heard. Is that correct?
No, they're
Do
not.
what?
They're not open.
Half day Saturday?
No,
They normally are.
normally.
Normally. But I thought they were going to be open a half a day this Saturday.
That's what Bill had indicated to me was half day.
That's what I thought they were going to do.
Well, it says currently the transfer station will be closed on Thursday, Friday, half-day Saturday, and Sunday.
Yep, that's my understanding of what.
That's what it says.
Well, see, to me, that by saying half a day Saturday, they're all automatically closed half a day on Saturday anyway.
Well, it says without adopting the previously stated policy, which is what he's got, the convenience centers will be closed, our convenience centers would be closed on Thursday and half-day on Sunday.
Right.
Yeah.
So what are our convenience centers open on Sundays normally?
Half a day.
Half-day.
If we get them cleaned out Wednesday, we can probably make it through Saturday and Sunday. If we open Saturday, they'll just be full Saturday. So you'll be turning people away from your convenience centers over the weekend.
Folks, my issue is I think that we have a problem with the PSA or whatever we call it, because this is extremely short notice. And I know people will take Thursday as Thanksgiving, and hopefully they will. But I also know that on Friday, a lot of people use that as a home improvement day, and they do things around the house because they're off, and they're not off at other times. I think that this has put us in a really tough spot as far as serving the community.
Well, the landfill's open Friday. So I did confirm they will be, the landfill itself is open on Fridays.
So we're looking at just closing Friday on.
Mhm. Yeah.
So at this point, we don't have a motion to close on a Friday. Is it the board's pleasure to remain open?
we have a contract with PSA that says 5 days a year. This will make it more
Well,
than 5 days.
the ordinance creating them set forth what days they would close.
We have a contract with the convenience centers that says which days they're allowed to close,
Yeah.
which is 5 or 6
Yeah.
days they're allowed.
We sort of mimicked what the PSA had.
The PSA has thrown this in, and now. we have to either match it or deal with the problem of overcrowded.
Well, if you want to listen to all the complaints on Saturday and Sunday with it being full, we can stay open on Friday. Otherwise, we need to close on, because we're not going to have any capacity. You know, the days of the year that, and I think most of you have heard me say this before, after Christmas, after Thanksgiving, after a few days of rain or after a few days of snow where people can't get out, you've got to be open and be ready, because once those pretty days hit, you're going to have a lot of the convenience centers fill up, and spring cleaning is, I guess, another time.
Or are we going to, Christmas this year is on Thursday, are we going to face the same request?
I will be at the PSA meeting.
And we might listen to him, we might not.
No, we cannot, it's like saying you're going to close the water plant. We can't do it. You can't close the sewer plant. Can't tell the sheriff's employees that they're not going to work. Can't close dispatch. Certain things that you just can't do, they're essential services.
All right, do we have a motion to close, or are we going to stay open?
I make a motion, we close, you're saying just close Friday, not Friday and Saturday?
Nope, just Friday.
I make a motion that we close convenience centers Thursday and Friday. It's Thursday, I think they already have.
Yeah, Thursday they're closed.
We do have a motion on the floor to close Friday, would be the motion, I guess, since Thursday's already been approved. Do we have a second?
I second that.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Only thing I would ask is, how do we get the word out? It's Tuesday. I mean, obviously, I would
So the only
assume
thing we can do is go post the notice.
social media.
Social media, post a notice at every convenience center, and put it on the radio.
Put Gene's phone number on it.
I don't care, go ahead.
Slell can go on Danny's show on Thursday morning and give everybody. It's too, well, is Millie gone? Millie's gone. She went to put it in the newspaper, I'm sure. All right, we have a motion to close on the convenience centers on Friday due to the PSA closing the transfer station on Friday. We have a second. Hearing no other discussion, we'll put it to a roll call vote. Dr. Hausman.
No.
No.
Yes. Oh, excuse me. Joe? Sorry. Mike.
Yes.
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 Yes. Motion carries 4-2 with one absent. Okay, the next,
But don't do it again.
fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. The next item under new business is the dealing with the gypsy moths. What do we need to do with this, Mr. Dalton?
That's
Is that informational?
information. We need to publicize it out there on social media. It really only affects the Speedwell area and the Ivanhoe area, the National Forest on that side. That's where the spraying will happen next year.
Okay. Any other, that's all the new business on the agenda. Any other new business needs to come before the board, Mr. Dalton?
No, sir.
Any, Mr. Bayer?
Ms. Collins just indicated that Jeff Russell is on his way here. If you wanted to take a short recess, meet up with
What sounds like, who else had, I mean, he's on his way, so we will, but who else had road, do you have road issues?
Joe and Gene. The rest of us can go home.
Joe, you're next in line here for the, okay, well, let's, how long do you think that would be?
He said 15 minutes, about 10 minutes.
Okay, let's take let's just go ahead and take a 10-minute recess. We'll reconvene at 10:40 and talk to Mr. Russell. Mr. Hale and one other that had some road issues that they wanted to discuss with you. Did you have anything you want to share with us, or are you just here to?
Well, y'all had mentioned some things last time in the last meeting, and I did, y'all had mentioned a request for flashing warning lights in the curve 77 south where it joins 81. I did send that on to our traffic and engineering, and they said they would evaluate the curve and see the possibility of using the same type system as what we put down here at the quarry. Also, told them that y'all had requested additional logos, the shields painted on the interstate to give more advanced warning, and they advised that they're planning to monitor how the recently installed shields are performing over the winter and evaluate where new shields could be added next year. So that was a couple updates I wanted to share with you that I did forward that on. So.
All right, I think I did. You guys didn't have anything, did you?
No, except, Corey, that lady that was at Lowe's that spoke to us about a guardrail, do you remember that and where it was? I didn't know what she was, or where she was talking.
Falls Mountain. What we've done on that is,
She said you come on and put some posts in or something.
yeah, we did, and then basically they're installing some electrical lines, or clearing around the area where the electrical lines are, and they've opened up more area, and so our sign guys installing more of those reflective posts on up the mountain. And basically, that's all we can do right now. We don't have funding for our bills.
Okay.
Mr. Hale, did you have?
Jeff, I don't know whether we got back to talking to you about consolidating, moving, robbing, begging money to consolidate all the money on Archer Road for next year. If you put the figures to that.
I haven't heard anything else. I mean, that's a possibility, but I would recommend that prior to our meeting next year that we set a meeting up and probably the first of the year that we can sit down as a group and decide how we want to handle it prior to showing up for the public hearing. Used to, we would do that when we had some money, but
Well, by the first of the year, will you have any idea how much money you've got in all the different pots?
not really. I doubt it. It's
Well,
usually a little bit later on before we, what really helps is knowing how much we're going to be given next year. You know, I know how much was put on this last year's plan, but how much we're going to be having next year and how that will affect any decision we make. If we want to wait till we're a little closer, and I don't know how soon they will have that.
What is the status of the funding if Archer Road was gonna cost $3.4 million? Is it still on that list?
If the price stayed at that 3.4 million, yes, it still is on the 6-year plan, but it, conceivably, we're looking at, it wouldn't be buildable within this 6 years with the money we have.
So you're saying, Jeff, that, my understanding, everything's in place now, that Archer Road can be rural west, is that true?
I think we've got everything taken care of, documented. We have sent it to the right-of-way people for them to review the easements that was required, and once they review it, they send it on to Richmond, and it's signed off on, then we can record it, then we can say it's a rural rustic. I believe we've got everything done that on our end, to my knowledge.
So, are you also saying that we can get that approved? It will happen when we have a public hearing take it from before the public hearing for next year's six-year plan, secondary six-year plan, is that what you're saying?
Yes, we can edit this plan and we can show it instead of the $3.3 million price tag. Whatever the estimate comes in at, we can reduce it. I'm saying it's going to be $350,000 to $500,000, somewhere in that range. So that's going to reduce it. And even prior to the public hearing next year, we can go ahead and reprogram the money as we want to. If you want, prior to showing up here before you all to pass, ask for passing, we can do whatever we need to with the money. If you all want to take money from the other projects and put it towards Archer Road, we can certainly do that.
What projects are we talking about that could happen? And what's the status of that money right now?
First one is Dunford Road. Of course, we'll be finishing it up in the spring. As of now, we think there will be money left over from that project. How much, I can't tell you right now, but that's money that can go towards Archer. Miller's Creek, within the next 2 years, it looks as though you've got $150,000 programmed towards Miller's Creek. Any or all of that money could be put towards Archer Road. Krieger Road, looks like close to $300,000 within the next 3 years, so any and all of that money can be put towards Archer. Myrtle Lane, $300,000. This is last year's plan. I grabbed the wrong plan in my haste. Seems like there was, Miller's Creek had money on it and maybe Krieger. Those two projects had money on it that we could put towards Archer.
I guess whatever that was 60 this year, Miller's Creek or something. So on Archer Road, the board reallocates the money, gets 50%, at least 50% next year, plus the savings on Dunford, they could actually start Archer July the 1st.
To the best of my recollection, if we took the money, all the money that we had allocated, put it towards Archer, we conceivably could start it this coming July. Even though it wouldn't be funded until the next year, but by rule, we could start it this July.
With those shaping and sealing jobs, you try to do them 1 year and surface treat them the next year?
Most of the time, that's the way it works out. And that, as we discussed last time, that gives you the chance to settle out before we do the paving. You get a better product like that.
Anything else?
But we'd like to move forward, I think, with that thought process to get it back on schedule in those people's mind to move the Miller's Creek money over there.
Done?
Joe can't talk. Gene.
Joe can't talk, move on quick. You said Krieger Road, so I just had a complaint that it needs to be scraped. I have 2 questions, comments, complaints, whatever you want to call it, on St. Peter's Road. Let's start with the first one. We've complained about the feedlot on top of the hill to EPA, and they're telling us that there's no problem with it. So can VDOT do something about the manure running down the backside of Speedwell Hill and out in the middle of the road?
I think when he's asking, can you clean the ditches so instead of running that road, it stays in the ditch?
Actually, what I would really like you to do is complain to the EPA so they would agree that the manure running out of it is a problem. But
I used to get complaints when Jean worked at the, now she's retired, I don't hear those anymore. But,
well, I mean, one day, I don't know if he had a water leak or what, but I mean, it wasn't even raining, and there was basically liquid manure coming down the side of the road. I mean, if you got over to the edge of the road, you ran through manure. And I mean, yesterday when it rained, it washed all the way across. Matter of fact, the only thing I can figure is I seen a state truck yesterday out with a snowplow on it. So the only thing I can figure was they sent him down there with a snowplow to push the manure out of the road.
Could have
I
been.
mean, I understand y'all got to do what you got to do, but I mean, you know, I still think that it all goes back to the EPA needs to step in and say, there's a problem. And we have complained about it, and they wouldn't listen to us, so I thought, well, I'll just tell you. We'll go
We
from there.
we can certainly look at it. I can have people look at it from a district. Unfortunately, you know, we can bark, and short of going to court and having a court case and everything else, you know, how much of a bite do we have?
Well, but I mean, still, if you bark, it might make somebody look at it again.
We'll take a look at that.
The other thing is the construction project on St. Peter's Road. I was asked to go to a meeting here a while back with for some people that was meeting with the lady from VDOT to negotiate the right-of-way and whatever for their house and whatever. She informed me that they're only doing part of that project now, 1-point-something miles of it, instead of all the way down to the bridge, which I think is 4 miles. So is that second half of that road, does it need to be put back on a 6-year plan, or is it going to be something they're going to do later, or are they going to just repave it like it is, or? I mean, no offense, but I think somebody's messed up because they're taking a bunch of houses and they're cutting off that great big bank where they could have just made some sweeping turns through there and straightened the road out enough to made it a whole lot better than it is. I know you didn't. I know you don't. I know you didn't do this, but for lack of better things, you're my chew toy on this. I mean, you're the one that you have to listen.
I'm calloused up, so just lay into it. I will answer as best as to my knowledge, and then I will follow up and let you know for sure. But it seems like that the entire project, the funding wasn't there.
That's what
Or they cut the project from a full-blown construction all the way through. They're going to do the 1-point-so many miles. It will be a full-blown construction project. The remainder will be similar to what they done on the other portion of St. Peter's. Basically, they'll do a little widening, put in new drainage ditch, and then pave over it, kind of like they done the section that they just finished. That's what's on my mind. I haven't saw the final plans. I don't know what you know more about it than I do. So I'm gonna have to follow up and get back with you, but I believe that's kind of what happened.
I mean,
It was either a funding issue, they didn't have the money, or
that's what she said was.
no more of a change than they were gonna make. It didn't warrant spending all that money for what little change was gonna be made through that one section. So I'm gonna have to follow up on it. and get
I mean,
back to you.
it seems like they're doing a lot right there at the bottom of Speedwell Hill, which to me, if they'd have moved the road to the right instead of moving that big bank, if they just, because they've already took the house there. I mean, granted, the bridge is put in at the wrong angle to do it that way, but I mean, you could make it a sweeping turn and left that curve like it is, and then you get on down there closer to my house, and you've got those real sharp curves with that big drop-off that, according to the way it's sounding, they're not going to do anything there except for repave it and widen what they can, so you're still going to have those sharp-ass curves there. I mean, it just doesn't, it seems like they're fixing both ends of it to where it's going to be really nice. So the tractor and trailers are going to say, well, I can go this way. And then they're going to get down there and say, oh, what did I do? I mean, the other thing was, and I don't know, you probably can't do nothing, we probably can't do nothing about it. Where they're turning and going up Old Bank Road, there's a house on the right. That's the lady that I was actually at the meeting with. And she's got a fence that's evidently on a right-of-way. I don't know if they could do it or would do it, but I mean, the house on the left has got all kinds of yard that they could move. The way I understand it, the road is actually going to be moving away from her house, but the right-of-way is still going to be there. So they're wanting her to move her fence closer to the house, so she's going to have like a 3-foot front yard. It seems to me like VDOT could use some common sense and say move everything 4 foot across the road. I don't know what it is. It's Virginia Grisso, Hale. It's the first White House on the right as you turn up Old Bank Road off of St. Peter's. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it seems like they've got somebody off from here doing all this planning stuff and not really looking at it.
I will look at that and let you know what,
I appreciate
if
it.
anything can be done.
I
at this
appreciate it.
point.
I mean, like I said, I hate to fuss at you because I know you didn't do it, but you just happen to be the person that we see.
I can find, if I don't know the answer, I'll find it out for you, so.
I appreciate that. I think that's all I had.
Any other board members with? Thank you, Jeff, for coming. Thank you, Andy, for coming.
You all have a good Thanksgiving.
You too.
You too.
You too.
Hopefully it doesn't snow too much on Wednesday.
I understand that the other Russell at the district has been no longer there.
He's no longer employed with VDOT.
Do we have any other business for the, well, one thing, that legislative dinner, saw something in an email about a legislative dinner on the 11th. Does that constitute a continuation of a meeting for us, or in other words, do I need to adjourn the meeting, or do we need to?
Board meeting on the 9th.
Yeah, December.
Oh, yeah, no, never mind. What month is it? I don't know. My calendar's so full. Okay, never mind.
Whatever you want.
Adjourned. Meeting is adjourned.
And now that we've adjourned, I'll give you some advice. The reason I brought that up about Foster Falls, I was checking out out there at Lowe's behind Coy, and a lady was talking to him about it. And I was behind him, and so Coy stepped up, he said, hey, he's a supervisor too, tell him. So let me give you some advice. Don't check out behind Coy.
If you see Coy in the store, go the other way, huh?
Well, I heard you say, we were at Lowe's, and I'm like, y'all, what are you doing for Christmas shopping? They had been down there and done something doing another chicken like what they did. Well, the reason, when they came, I was actually in Lowe's the other day, and I saw that lady, and I happened to think about it, and I thought that I'd bring it up, because I forgot it too. But that's amazing.
Coy, the dog situation should be resolved in Newtown.
Was that one, was that one of the dogs?
Yeah.
What? I know how that part of it was resolved. How about Polecat?
Polecat, they got rid of at least 2.
Yeah. I won't get no dog, man.
Don't count on that.